Hey, Margie here. Did you know that something that occurred way back in your childhood could be negatively affecting your bones and overall health many, many years later? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. It's called ACEs, Adverse Childhood Experiences. And our special guest is Dani Williamson. And Dani is a functional nurse practitioner, and she owns Integrated Family Medicine in Franklin, Tennessee, which focuses on gut, autoimmune thyroid, hormone, and adrenal health. And her approach embodies a physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual process to healing. She's on the board of Middle Tennessee chapter of the American Foundation of Suicide Prevention and believes strongly in addressing issues of adverse childhood trauma and its relation to overall long-term health conditions. Her book, Wild and Well, Dani's 6 Common Sense Steps to Radical Healing, is being released on November 9th and is currently available as an ebook on Amazon. And in today's talk, we really delve into the health consequences of these adverse experiences and what can be done about it, as well as Dani takes us through her 6 steps to healing. So this is full of lots of great information. Plus, Dani's a lot of fun. So stay tuned. Welcome, Dani. I'm so happy to have you here on the podcast. Thank you for joining me today.
I'm so excited to be here. Been looking forward to this.
So, I want to start from the beginning because you had a really traumatic childhood, and that so influenced the work that you do. And I would like to talk about that because there's something called ACEs and adverse childhood experiences that really can affect people's lives, and even 20, 30 years later. And a lot of times people don't even think about that their past can be having such a major influence. So do you want to share your experiences and how you use that when you're working with all the people that you do?
Absolutely. I had no idea about adverse childhood experiences, and I had no clue how that could lead to decades and a lifetime of chronic disease or mental illness or health issues. And I myself, I grew up in a complete and total shithole of chaos, Margie. Just as simple. I was under a lot of stress. I was molested by one stepfather. I was beat up by another stepfather. My mom was in the middle of all of that. And I was about 35 years old, and I remembered the day that I was going to end my life. And it was as clear as a bell what I was going to do. And I was going to drive off the foot of Broadway in Paducah into the raging river, and nobody was going to stop me. And I was laying there getting ready to get up and do that. And my kids came busting in the room. Ella and Jackson, they were like 5 and 6 years old, or maybe a little bit younger. No, they were younger. Get up, Mom, let's eat. We're hungry. And it was instant. I looked at their face, and I there was no way that I was going to leave my kids with my husband at that time, my ex-husband now. And I got up, I fed the kids, and a year later, I'm divorced, and I'm on food stamps, and I'm on a medical card, and I'm still pooping my brains out. Now I've been diagnosed with lupus, and I've got chronic itching, and I'm depressed. And I applied to nursing school of all things. And standing there that day, I opened up 2 letters on the porch. One said, congratulations, you're going to Vanderbilt School of Nursing, nurse practitioner program, all of that. The second letter said, you've qualified for $56 more in food stamps this month, because I lost it all. And I was so excited. I had more money for the kids, and I was going to school at age 40. Fast forward, I'm still sick, got all the crap going on. Literally 24 years of seeing doctors, Margie, 24 years, 10 doctors, before a doctor ever looked me square in the eye and said, Dani, what are you eating? Don't you know your diet controls your symptoms? And those years ago, and since then, I have helped thousands of people regain their health, get their health back by decreasing inflammation and building up their immune system. And now, a decade and a year later, I have learned about adverse childhood experiences. And whoa, my score is a 6. I should already be on the downhill slide, maybe an IV drug user, for sure suicidal, or maybe I've already died by suicide, and for sure be an alcoholic. So I'm living proof that what you turn on, you can turn off, because I've worked really hard the last decade to heal my gut. And I'm living proof that you don't have to be what your past is. You don't have to be your past. You can turn that around. And I think we've missed it in many healthcare providers have missed it. Nursing schools, medical schools have missed ACEs. And Dr. Folletti, I don't know, it was I think it was somewhere around, it was 1980 in the 90s when adverse childhood experiences first for him came to the forefront. And basically what that is what happens to you before the age of 18 can set you up for a lifetime of chronic illness and disease and mental health issues. And the entire adverse childhood experience questionnaire, do you know how it started? Do you know the history of it? Like literally where it came from?
I don't. So fill us in.
It's fascinating. Dr. Folletti was, I think he's an internal medicine doctor. Don't hold me to that, in San Diego, California. He was running a weight loss clinic, like one of these big clinics where patients were literally losing 100 pounds, 200 pounds, that kind of clinic, not a 10-pound clinic. And he noticed he was losing about 50% of the patients, like as in dropping out of the program. So he started, he got several hundred patient files together, started calling them in one by one, started interviewing them. And one day he's interviewing this gal and he accidentally said, it was an accident, he misspoke. He said, how old were you when you first had, how much weigh when you first had sex? And she said, 40 pounds. He said, no, excuse me, I'm sorry, I misspoke. How much did you weigh when you first had sex? And she said, 40 pounds. And he said, well, how old were you when you first had sex? And she said, 4 years old. It was my father. And he thought he had only had one case in all of his career of incest. Well, as he started interviewing more and more and more weight loss patients, this came up over and over and over, that these patients were molested, raped, beat up. I mean, there was massive childhood trauma in their lives. Many of them were normal weight when their trauma happened. But then after that, they started gaining weight. So one of the patients told him, said, when you're, I can't remember the quote exactly, when you're overweight, you're overlooked. And I need to be overlooked. So guess what happened, Margie, is they were losing weight. It triggered them, that PTSD, that past, and they were being noticed again. People were whistling at them. People were paying attention to them, and they could not process that. And so he asked other doctors, he said, I must be doing something wrong. I'm leading these people, something's wrong. And all these other doctors came in to interview other people. It was the same story over and over and over. Fast forward decades, they have created the Adverse Childhood Experience Questionnaire in partnership. It was Kaiser Permanente in California and in partnership with the CDC. Finally, the CDC listened to them. And it's estimated that over 60% of the population has at least one adverse childhood experience score. And if you have one, you are so many times, I can't remember exactly, say like 10 times more to have a second adverse childhood experience. Something else happening to you. Women have about a 75% more chance of having a higher adverse childhood experience score than men. It's fascinating. He interviewed 286 people. Most had been sexually abused as children. As startling as it was, it turned out to be even less significant than another piece of the puzzle. And that was, the one who said overweight is overlooked. Isn't that something?
That's so unbelievable.
Women, if you have an adverse childhood experience score of 7 or more, you have 3 times the lifetime risk of lung cancer, 3.5 times more likely heart disease, which is the number one killer in America already. The mean average age of this study was 56 years old in San Diego. These were white, college-educated many population. This was not a diverse population. So if this is coming out of a white, middle-class, upper middle-class population, we can predict that this is all socioeconomic.
Wow. And to think, unless you're seeing a psychologist or psychiatrist and dealing with this, that's not one of the questions people typically ask.
It's never a question. I was not taught this in school. I've been in therapy my entire life because of my childhood. I've never once been given the adverse childhood experience questionnaire. We give it to every single patient in the office now. The American Pediatric Association, I can't remember what his name was, Dr. Block, I think. He said that this is the #1 unaddressed public health crisis in the United States, period, hands down. We are ignoring what happened to us. Basically, it's how did you go from being a sweet baby to a homeless person on the street? What happened to you in there? Unbelievable. And so I deal with a tremendous amount of autoimmune disease in my office, have a lot of anxiety and a lot of depression in my office. And these people, their adverse childhood experiences scores are higher and higher and higher every year that I get in. I saw yesterday as a follow-up, one of my patients, it's been 6 months since I'd seen her, and I had forgotten, actually, she was the first patient and only one of 2 of mine who have a score of 10. 10. This is 10 questions on the adverse childhood experience questionnaire. 10. And she had every single one of them checked. And she is a woman of God. And she said, I'm not letting that get me down. I am not. Now, she's had health issues her entire life, and she had never been given this questionnaire until 6 months ago.
Wow. So I have 2 questions. Number one, then how, or people are listening, because a lot of people just push it under the table. Oh, that happened then, I've moved on. But they really haven't, as you're saying. That's, I think, something that's very important for everyone to hear. If you have an autoimmune or you have whatever it is, you need to address this. You can't just, push it, just forget about it. Yeah.
And even turning back to you and osteoporosis, which is what you do, think about it. When your cortisol levels, so what happens with adverse childhood experience? Your cortisol never gets turned off. Like, I never knew when my stepfather was going to come into the room at night. So, and see, that could be anything. It could be, you don't know when you're drunk, parent's going to come home through that door and start beating you. You don't know. It's just the same, which has nothing to do with ACEs because they didn't study this, but bullies at school. That child never has an opportunity to turn off that cortisol and dial down that pounding cortisol coming out. So you don't know when the bear is going to show up. Well, when that cortisol is constantly shooting out of those adrenal glands, well, that's going to deplete your body of calcium as well. And these patients have lived years and decades sometimes under this chronic adrenal dysfunction and this stress, and never being able to dial down those cortisol levels and to really get into that parasympathetic state. Yes.
Yeah. And the thing with the bones is that the cortisol actually reduces the osteoblast, the bone building cells. So it has such a huge relationship, and something that people really don't even think about. They want to eat well, they want to exercise, and they never think that all this stress, but what you're talking about is stress they may not even realize coming from way back. Yeah.
And if you have an adverse childhood experience score of 4 or more, you are 12.5 times more likely to attempt suicide, 10.3 times as likely to use injection drugs, 7.4 times as likely to be an alcoholic, 2.5 times, heart disease, stroke, cancer, every single chronic lifestyle disease is escalated the higher your adverse childhood experience score is.
So tell us, what should we do? Or how do you address this in your practice? For everybody listening, what steps would you recommend people take? And they're like saying, yes, that's me.
That's right. Well, the first thing I do is I tell them, look, you're not broken. You were never broken. You were not born broken. You are not broken. I am living, breathing proof that whatever you turn on, you can turn off, or you can dial it back greatly so that it is manageable. And so, I mean, we start with a lot of mental health. I mean, I work with emotional, physical, mental, spiritual, sexual. We start digging in deep, and I get those patients into treatment or therapy or whatever it's needed to deal with this, EMDR, whatever therapy it is that they need to start working with them. We start, and many people never have even considered treatment or therapy. They think it's weak, and it's not weak. And then we really start with, eating well, sleeping well, moving well, pooping well, decreasing stress, cultivating community. Those are my 6 steps here that really I hone in on. And community is huge. That's my 6th step to healing, but that's really a gigantic, important step, because a lot of these people don't have community. They isolate. And they don't trust people as much. And so I really start working with them, trying to find community. But number one, we start by healing their gut, because when you're not sick, we know the gut. I mean, when you're not healthy, the gut is 80% up to 80% of your immune system. So we start real quickly on eliminating foods and meeting them where they are. And this, you have to meet that patient wherever they are. And if they're not ready to tackle the hard stuff and cut out all the foods, that are inflammatory to them, then you meet them where they are. If they're not ready to, start exercising the way they should, then you meet them where they are. And
I couldn't agree more. And your book is just amazing. Wild and Well. I just think you want to just tell us about the title, because the
title Wild and Well was a community effort here on figuring this out. I knew I wanted something that was more like me, that looked wild, looked well, and then Wild and Well, Dani's 6 common sense steps to radical healing. And that's how it came out, is that I practice common sense, practical medicine. This stuff is not rocket science. I'm very intelligent. I'm not dumb, but I am telling you right now, you don't have to complicate this, right? The more you move your body, the better you will feel. If in fact, you don't have something debilitating going on there, the better you eat, the better you'll feel. The better you eat, the better you'll poop. It's not rocket science. So I tend to be like the common sense, practical medicine provider over there that people come to and like, okay, what are we going to do? Well, this is what we're going to do, because, and I teach people how to automate, eliminate, and delegate everything they can in their life. Everything. Automate it. Get rid of everything that's not serving you well. That includes people in your life. You have the right to cut out the soul suckers. Excuse me. The soul suckers in your life. Absolutely.
I couldn't agree more, because the people around you it's contagious, and it can totally, I teach happiness. So this can totally just rob you of your happiness. So yes. So important.
And I tell people, I can only get you so far. If your life is full of chaos, I can't change that for you. You have to set boundaries. You have to, if you're in a bad marriage, then guess what? You need to get out of it. I'm sorry. It's as simple and as complicated as that right there. I know what it's like to be in a hard marriage, and I know what it's like to go on food stamps and lose it all and have to go on a medical card, for my kids to have insurance. And just one mess after another. I know what it's like, but I will never go back to living like that again, ever. I think God's more concerned with your heart than he is your marriage. And so I tell people, cut out the things that are causing stress for you. Stress is going to be all around. Look what happened the last 18 months. But, if you grew up in chronic chaos, somebody said something to me this week, and it was real interesting. A good friend of mine, she said, Dani, you're just constantly going. And I am. And I've got this book. She said, one of my therapists told me one time that when you grow up with alcoholic parents and chaos in the family, you tend to live like that. You tend to have a lot going on around you as an adult. You're not that good with silence, but I think I'm pretty good with silence. And I teach people to just be with themselves. One of the best things that you can do, and it's good for your bones too, is to get outside and earth and ground. Get your feet on the earth. That's not rocket science. Dogs and cats, they, as a rule, are not anxiety-ridden animals. Neither are horses or pigs or cows. They don't wear shoes. They got their feet on the earth and their face to the sun.
That's such a great tip. Love that.
It's basic. Yeah, you can't afford therapy right now. Well, you know what? Go get on the grass. It'll calm you down. No joke. And that's the whole art of forest bathing.
Absolutely. Yeah. So your book, how can people get, your book is like an encyclopedia, honestly. You really go into each area that you talked about in detail. And
it's broken down.
Yeah, just real quickly, something I thought was very interesting, the 7 Sinister Foods. You want to just mention them real quick and people can, get the book to really learn more. But these were foods that you found were the most problematic for various people.
So gluten, dairy, soy, corn, sugar, eggs, and peanuts are the top 7 inflammatory foods in the country. Hands down, they are. Most people have got a sensitivity, if not an allergy, to several of those. And did you know that eggs, the perfect little protein, eggs are the number 2 food allergy in the United States for children? Little known fact. Eggs are number 1 for me. So gluten, dairy, sugar, for sure. I tell patients, look, we've got to cut this out right now. Those are the white devils. I am telling you, it is destroying your health. And people look at me, and they do, you too. You know this. Well, what am I going to eat? Because that's all I eat. And it is. Sure it is. If you eat nothing but processed, packaged, bagged, fake, man-made food. If you're getting your food out of a box, a bag, a can, it's killing you. If you're getting your food from somebody's drive-through window, there is a reason your Chick-fil-A in Franklin, Tennessee, where I live, tastes exactly the same as it does in New York City on Times Square, because that Chick-fil-A was made in a chemistry lab. It has to taste the same. And you are the chemistry experiment. And so are your children that you are feeding on the way to school every morning through Chick-fil-A or McDonald's. You all are the chemistry experiment. You're the lab rat. Don't think the food industry has your best interest at heart. They don't. They're all about addiction. So yeah, if that's all you're eating a lot of gluten, dairy, sugar, and lots of other things as well. So one ingredient food, that's my thing. One ingredient, God-made food. All you have to do is go to the farmer's market or the grocery store, which I'm getting ready to go do videos right now at Sprouts, and look at all the vegetables. We eat the same thing over and over. Why do you not go pick up a turnip? Why not? Turnips are amazing. Do you have something against turnips? Why not go pick up a rutabaga or a daikon radish or I don't know, anything, mustard greens? We eat the same food over and over, and it's killing us, and it's killing our children.
Wow. And that's the same advice I start with. Get rid of the gluten, dairy, and sugar. That's the first 3 things that are so, as you say, so inflammatory. And
yes,
people look at you. So you have some things to offer the community, because I know we're getting close to the end.
I do. Well, we have on our website, DaniWilliamson.com, we have a swapping list. You can go sign up for our newsletter. You'll get a little swapping list. If you're eating this, try this. If you're eating dairy, oh, good Lord, cut the dairy out, lady. It's nothing but cow snot, and that's all it is cow pus. And I just walk by the counter at Whole Foods or Kroger and just think cow pus, cow pus, cow pus. That's how I do it.
I've never heard it called that, Dani. You are hysterical.
And especially during the last 18 months, you don't need any cow pus or cow snot in your body. You need your lungs working on 100% right there. And cow pus and cow snot don't help it at all. So yes, DaniWilliamson.com. They can get a swapping list. I have a great newsletter. All social media, Dani Williamson Wellness, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. Free education all day, every day I hand out. And YouTube has my Facebook Live on it that I do on Sunday nights, which you're going to have to come talk about.
Yes.
Osteoporosis. Yes, we've been trying to do this for 2 years. And everything's there. So we've got so much free information. The website's a good information. I mean, is a good website with lots of things on it. But the book, I wrote the book, Margie, for people just like you and me, just basic people who may have been told through the years, there's nothing we can do. Like my rheumatologist said to me, there's no cure for lupus, Danielle. It kills women every year. What? I was 35 years old. I didn't know anything about lupus, and I for sure didn't know about eating well. I was still eating Sonic onion rings and ham and cheese and Dr. Pepper back then. So I was like, well, shit, I don't want to die. I mean, what is she talking about? It kills women every day. Dang. So I wrote this book for women and men who've been told, here's your pill, here's your pamphlet. You can take your Nexium until the day you die. Wrong. There's no cure for your heartburn. So I wrote it at Common Sense where people like us can understand it. You're Harvard educated, you're in Cambridge, Mass, and you're big fancy pants up there. You can understand it as well. And it's common sense. It's backed by a lot of medical research. It's got a ton of references in it, but I wrote it very lay person. Anybody can pick it up and say, dang, if she can overcome this, I can do this. I can cut out one thing and do it. So I hope it helps millions of people before it's all over with.
It's such a good book. What I like about it is common sense, and there's doable things. You give action steps for each area that you had talked about, all of your 6 areas. And then I love each chapter, you have your little treatment plan. You give all the steps. Okay, so you can do this, 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 this. It's sort of like a smorgasbord. People can choose what resonates and move on. So it's
right.
Yeah.
If you're not eating well, you're not going to sleep well. You have to sleep. Your body heals when you sleep. And so there's a whole chapter, of course, on sleep, and we dig deep into it. And if you're not sleeping well, you're not going to move well, right? You're not going to exercise. You're not going to move. Your body's designed to move. And then if you're not moving well, you're not going to poop well. It's as simple as that. And we're designed to poop, like that 9-week-old dog I got laying right here beside me. That dog goes out, eats, and man, he goes and poops in about 20 minutes. And that's how we're supposed to do it. And then if you're stressed, you're not going to be healthy. And if you don't have community, you're not going to be healthy. So I think there's way more than 6 steps to healing.
Oh, yeah.
Those are my 6 that really, I think, bring it all back together. And if you can start getting those balls juggled there, you're not going to go back to feeling poorly again. I know what it's like to be sick, and I will never go back to how I felt 11 years ago. There's not enough gluten in the world to make me go back to joint pain and bloating and diarrhea and anxiety and chronic fatigue symptoms. Absolutely not. No, I don't care how good your Cracker Barrel biscuits are. I'm not eating it because I've been there. I know it's made in a lab. I know what happens there at Cracker Barrel. So, which is fabulous. There's nothing wrong with Cracker Barrel. It's just that, if I ate those biscuits, I hurt, and I'm not going to hurt anymore.
Well, you are so inspirational. I'm so glad you brought this ACEs piece up, because it's something people really need to think about and deal with. And we have all your contact information. So anything else before we
One thing
end?
I want to say, they can take the Adverse Childhood Experience Questionnaire online for free. You should put this in your show notes. You can go to, NPR actually has it on their website. So you can put the link there. We have it in our book. It's in our book as well. But of course you can't get the book until you can get the ebook is available right now, actually, on Amazon. So, but the questionnaire is all over the internet. Take it, mark your answers down, what they are, look at them, and then read about it. But just know, you don't have to be the statistic that they're talking about. Just because your score is above 4, you don't have to be an alcoholic. You don't have to be suicidal. You are stronger than that, and you weren't born broken. So just know that this is a tool to look at and say, yeah, look at that. I had a rough childhood. I look at mine's a 6. I think, golly, dang, Dani, I didn't even realize that. And I've always had a pretty good attitude about things, but I had no idea.
And look
No
at you
idea.
today, #1 best-selling Amazon, your book.
That's right. It is now. So take the questionnaire online and then start teasing it out from there. And whatever that looks like for you, maybe go talk to your therapist about it, or maybe question your therapist and say, why, how come you never brought this up to me? Because we need to deal on this. If you don't get that dealt with, it's real hard to deal with what's going on with you right now.
No, well, thank you. That's such great advice. And again, you're such an inspiration, and you're so much fun. I love being with you. You're just,
I can't wait to see. Are you going next week? Are you going to Arizona?
I am, but I'm not going. I'm virtual. I'm going to be virtually attending.
Okay.
So I will,
Well,
maybe I'll see you on the.
I'll miss you. I will miss you, but I think you're doing incredible work out there, and you are so smart about what you do and us protecting our bones. And the fact that you've connected the happiness to the bones and the happiness to your overall health. I mean, you don't have health without true happiness. It's all connected. And you're the only person that I've ever met who has literally molded those two together. It's brilliant.
Oh, you're so sweet. Well, it's always a pleasure being with you, and look forward to continuing. And I will come on your show. I will. We'll have to make it.
I'll send you the link. I'll send you the link today. It'll be fun. We'll do it.
Okay. Take care. Thank you so much again for joining, and for all the amazing work you're doing in the world. Thank you so much.
Back at you.
I hope you enjoyed my interview with Dani and now have a better understanding of the negative effect of ACEs, or adverse childhood experiences, on our health. The good news is there's so much that can be done. And to me, Dani is so inspirational, showing us that all things are possible. I also love her 6 steps to healing and all the resources she talked about, as well as the link to her new book, Wild and Well, will be in the show notes. So thanks so much for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode.